Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Richard Graves from Richard Graves Group. Thanks to everybody who chimed in and listened to us on Sunday when me and Jonathan were chopping it up about a few things, public affairs. We really didn't really get to talk about any of our topics because we just started talking about different things affecting community, etc., etc. Anyway, without further delay, let me bring on my boy Jonathan so we can go ahead and chop it up a little more because we have things to do tonight. So do I. So we're just going to talk about a few things. And later, about 6:30, I'm going to have my guy Nalo Lachuga. He'll be on, and we're just going to, just like I said, talk about what's going on in the world. What's up, Jonathan? How you doing, brother?
Doing good. Really, really, really good.
All right. How's everything?
Oh, I can't complain. No complaints here, man. Trying to make it happen,
cool, bro. All right.
Tired of listening.
Good to see you, man.
Instruction.
Trying to listen to instruction, huh?
No, construction is too much construction. But hey, gas prices going down, bro.
Yeah, man. So you're the businessman. Tell me what's going on, man. We're about to go into, from my social economic view, we're about to hit into a serious recession. What do you think, bro?
So recession is always one of those, I think, misunderstood things. 2 consecutive quarters of the gross domestic product being negative, that's a recession. And typically, as I understand it, we don't really feel that until maybe next year. The regular person. It's one of those things where it's in the news. Oh, we're going into the recession. Oh, we're going to the recession. But how does that affect my day-to-day life? Basically, what are we getting down to? What's the big scale war? What does that mean to me? Does it mean anything? Some people may not feel any. May not feel it at all. We've been feeling gas prices before we talked about recession. So, what else could go wrong?
I don't. You're definitely right about that.
We've been through a pandemic. That certainly isn't a recession, but it certainly felt like something like a recession or a depression. You know what I mean? We kind of been through the worst of some economic times the past 2 years already.
Wow.
Can it get worse? You know what I mean? So many people lost jobs, had to reinvent themselves, like myself. People can't afford their homes. We did have some relief on that, but that doesn't last forever. So what is the word recession going to mean to us that we haven't already faced the past 2 years? That's the question.
All right. Well, I guess you're right, man. I don't know. My concern is I see these food prices rising up quickly. I see housing, obviously. I listened to 2 economists. I was listening to the Fed when they were doing their talk about the jobs report, and what was going on. We do have low unemployment right now. We got a lot of people, obviously, different jobs. I see even like, Wendy's is hiring, paying, $25 an hour in some places. So, but I think that there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, at least geopolitically, and even within our own domestic political issues. I think this is kind of leading us to, it's not so much the word recession. I think we're going to go through a time of some economic turmoil, I believe.
Or continue to go through time. Continue to go through time.
I think it might be a little bit more people feeling it.
Yeah.
More people feeling it than not feeling it. You know what I mean? So.
My thing, though, is when I hear a jobs report, Rich, I'm always, every time the jobs report comes out, we're always growing jobs. Well, if we're always growing jobs, why do we even have an unemployment rate?
Good point.
We're always growing jobs. That means at some point in time we've lost more than we've grown. You just like if I grow 2 points, but I've been in the hole 10, you're just telling me I grew 2 points, but I've been in the hole 10 already. Oh, I grew 2 points. We grew $200,000, but you didn't say, hey, that's because we was in the hole 10. So that's kind of how I look at it.
So,
thank you, but it's deceptive. We've been growing jobs since Bush been in office. So how can people unemployed?
Good
Answer
point.
it. Is it that just a statistical ploy to make us think something that's really doesn't affect us, is really not true? And are those jobs, can we live off those jobs? Because you grow a job. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. Well, you and I both know in government and in business, people have their Jedi mind trick games they play, the things they say, that give us an impression of one thing when another thing is happening. So I hear you on that, bro. So yeah, we'll see what the reality is that people actually have to deal with coming up. I just, like I said, at least gas prices are going down. However, I think I think that's taken a lot of people's what's the word for it, non-discretionary income. So I'm sure
Oh,
that has an effect somewhere else. If you're paying $100 a week for gas and you were paying 30, that other money was being utilized for other things because they like the American people's saving rate was that high. So that money was being used in the economy for the things that is no longer going to be. It's no longer been used for these last 3 or 4 months that we've had the situation. You know,
mhm.
so all right, man. We keep 100 with that, man. We were gonna talk about, and you had started talking about. I looked at our video from last week, and you had started talking about why this whole thing with young white males and these guns, and the stuff that happened in Highland, Indiana, not too far from where I live. I'm Highland, Illinois, Highland Park, I believe, Highland Park, Illinois, not too far from where I live. And then, of course, the stuff down in Uvalde, Texas. We know. Then, did you see the police video for Uvalde? I've seen
I
clips
did.
of it.
I did, man. I may have, maybe I should have looked at it. I'm kind of, the mass shooting things is becoming I'm becoming a little desensitized, to be honest with
Desensitized to it.
you. We just had one here in Michigan, in Bay City, up in our thumb area here. It's
Hmm.
Bay City, with mass shooting too. So I don't know the particulars or who it was, the demographics, but we had one of those too. So, but you never heard about it, did you, Rich?
No.
See what I mean? You
Hmm.
hear about what they want you to hear about, and that's kind of why I'm so jaded with. Why are you telling me about this one? And I know personally that something just happened in Bay City a few days ago. You see what I'm saying? It's like,
Hmm.
so I didn't see the video. I understand there's some agitation about the police not going in and guns blazing or something like that. I don't know the particulars about all of that. So if you can enlighten me on that and what the video showed and how important that video is and why it took
You
so
know,
long to show the video.
all I saw was clips. So I don't have a law enforcement objective or law enforcement perspective on it to say what happened, what did. All I do know is that from what I'm hearing from people, it's not a good look for those police officers. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I don't know, and I've been waiting to get all the facts that as far as what happened, the time frames, what was going on when it was happening. But it's just you see a lot of stuff going on in the clips that I've seen that just aren't a good look for a response when you know that there's a bunch of children being held hostage by a crazy dude. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll see. We'll talk about that. If we do a show this weekend, I'll actually view everything and have an intelligent opinion for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but to the point of the whole idea of these mass shootings. Now I know that we always have that people have the prepared left right gun rights the discussion when honestly, I posted and a few people got upset what I posted. I said this is not really a gun rights question. Let's take the situation in Highland Park. In Highland Park, Illinois, the shooting there, the kid that did the shooting, or the man, he wasn't a kid, but the young man
Mm-hmm.
who did the shooting. All right, he had got his FOIA card legally. FOIA card in Illinois is a card you have to get. Background check has to happen for
Mm-hmm.
anybody. When I bought my guns, you got to have that. I have
Mm-hmm.
had friends and relatives who got mental health help or threatened suicide, and there was a wrap. Their guns was took.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked in those situations. In this situation, this kid threatened to kill himself, held his family hostage, threatened to kill his family, was responded to by police. His dad still signed for him to get a gun card, which is unbelievable because when he got it, I guess he needed to be sponsored because of his age. And this was after I'm going to kill myself, after I'm going to kill my family. And I think a conversation needs to be had about these HIPAA laws. You know, at what point do we need to know if somebody's unstable that they shouldn't be having no weapons? and that it goes with the public interest for him not to have that weapon. Dad shouldn't be able to sign on nothing. And honestly, I think the father should be held responsible as well. If these are guns he bought with a card that the dad sponsored for him, he should be held responsible partially for what this kid did.
Yeah. So it goes to question. I know that if you've been institutionalized for mental illness and mental health, there's certain jobs that you can't get.
Mm-hmm.
For any reason, you can. I know you can. I think one of them is CIA, maybe some government jobs. I'm not sure if law enforcement if that's true with law enforcement there in Illinois or here in Michigan.
Oh no, you ain't getting no. Most law enforcement jobs do a psych test and there's a background check. If that's in your background, It's not going to happen. It should. I'm not saying that mentally ill people should not be able to work and support themselves, but there are certain jobs you shouldn't be able to do. Like last week, we talked about sex offenders saying, there's jobs that they shouldn't get. And we talked about drug dealers, when they get out of prison. Yeah, there's certain jobs you shouldn't get. Like I said, you're not going to work as a pharmacy tech at Walgreens. It's just, there's consequences for choices. Mm-hmm. But if you have a mental health issue and it's that serious or you've been institutionalized, why would we want you working in law enforcement? Why would we want you having a weapon? So I just think that we in America, we never talk about the real issue. People say that the right politicizes these shootings, and you hear the thoughts and prayers and all that garbage, which I think is garbage. All right. At the same time, on the left, though, it automatically becomes we need to take everybody's gun away. Not everybody's gun, but we shouldn't have these AR-15s. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But look at Japan. This prime minister that was shot, former prime minister was shot. This dude made this gun. All right. So when people have to understand, when people are intent to do stuff, and don't get me wrong, I know that as far as the capacity for certain weapons, they can fire so many shots quickly, very quickly. Most semi-automatic weapons can be modified rather easily to become automatic weapons. We know that, but if you don't give them weapons and they use bombs, there are people are going to, if they want to kill a lot of people, they're going to figure out a way to do it. And I think we just need to have a true discussion about public health, mental health, and what that really means, and that if we're going to have laws, enforce them. In Illinois, we had the laws to keep him from having that gun. Those laws need to be enforced. Simple as that. And he went in, luckily, he drove up to Madison, Wisconsin, and was about to do another mass shooting. However, he hadn't planned that out well enough, so he wasn't able to execute it. But this kid was hell-bent on death from the beginning. And this goes back to this whole family thing. People want to hold single mothers responsible all the time for what a few knuckleheads in the hood do, but nobody's holding these fathers responsible. Like in this case, the father is clearly responsible, and you gotta, come on, man, you know what you're dealing with. If your kid ain't right, don't help him use his trauma or his mental illness to take away people's mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and children, because he killed, people for no reason, but like I said, maybe one day we'll have a real discussion, not one etched in emotion on the left and the right.
I don't know that there's I still don't know. Like you said, man, people gonna do it. They're gonna find a way. You can all the laws you want to. It's too many. The supply of guns is just out here. You want to ban AR-15s? It's just gonna be a black market for it. Because
that's true. There's always
the gun manufacturers. Oh, we're gonna destroy our guns because we can't sell anymore. Yeah, right. We're gonna destroy them. Yeah.
Well, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, the gun lobby is another rent-seeking group of multinational corporation people that rent seeks for legislation to benefit them, so they can keep selling. And they also work on the fear narrative too. I mean, they put it out there. I remember when Obama got elected, gun sales went up because they were telling, oh, Obama's coming to take your guns. Surprise, surprise, Obama didn't take anybody's gun. But gun sales went up because they used it as a fear-mongering technique. When these shootings happen, unfortunately, these are the same people that hype up, oh, my God, the shooting happened. The liberals are going to take our guns. And then gun sales go up after every one of these shootings. Gun sales go up. Ammunition sales go up because it's game. The gun lobby isn't really concerned about your First Amendment rights. They're concerned about you buying weapons, buying ammunition that goes in the corporate pockets to their shareholders. And that's what it's about. It's not about the First Amendment. So in the rights argument, I understand there's some people who truly have a social political position about the Second Amendment,
Mhm.
but there is also that group that's just being manipulated because a bunch of rich people want to sell more guns. And then on the left, truly, there's that group of people that really cares about these shootings and how it's affecting people. But like we talked about last week, when it comes to the left, they have a non-violence position. You know, um, they don't want authoritative, what they would call right-wing violence, but at the same time, they're capable of left-wing violence all the time. You know, they'll go to a so-called peaceful protest and start throwing bricks or bottles of ice at the police, and then but as soon as the police do something, they want to jump on camera. See, he got me. So, they're all a bunch of hypocrites as far as I'm concerned. Whenever you allow a discussion to be had in the peripheral of the extremes, to the right or the left, then it becomes an absurd discussion real quick. No matter what the topic is, So that's just my thoughts.
So when we gonna ban the demographic to keep doing these mass shootings? Is that plausible? What do we
Ban white
do?
males?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not likely in America. Young white males, come on, man. But I know you say that slightly tongue in cheek, but
Yeah.
that's a prime example, though. We look at law enforcement is looked at and judged by the few officers who do dumb things.
Yeah.
Black males, you and I, we're judged by a few of the homies who want to hold the hood hostage.
Yeah.
So it's only fair that Muslims get judged, the Arab guys get judged by a few Muslims who do crazy things. So it's only fair that we judge all white males by what these few white males do, if we want to be consistent. Like I said in Marine Corps, we have a saying, it's always funny till it happens to you.
Yeah.
It's always funny when someone stereotype to you, one being stereotyped.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a bad situation, man. What are you gonna do? We know that we're not gonna ban people from having weapons, so we just have to be smarter in how we have policy to keep as best as we can to keep these type of weapons out the hands of people who are emotionally and mentally unstable.
That sounds so
And
well.
we know that.
Listen,
but we know.
Let's sound so well and eloquent. You articulated that with the best of nomenclature, and I'm finna take it to another level, as I always do. The pontification, oh my goodness. But listen, Rich, we know brothers in the hood do stuff that we don't like, and we know what we call those people. Okay? But when Hillary Clinton gets up and calls those people in the hood who shoot the person they mad at super predators, but we have a consistent demographic that are doing mad shootings over and over and over and over again. Why is not the narrative thug? Why is not the narrative wildling, animal, monkey, wildebeest, whatever you want, whatever superlative you want to call it? Why is there not the vitriol? Why isn't there not the name calling? The absolute dehumanizing.
Well, I mean, you know what
the dehumanizing.
You know what it is. Yeah.
Because once you dehumanize them, that means I can give you any penalty because now you're no longer human. When are we going to talk about that? When are the narratives about those young white males going to be thug punks like a super predator, as Hillary would say, in the urban communities?
Well, first I'm going to say, first of all, Hillary using that phraseology about young black males. All right. Here's the deal. Not to superbly in language to signify. She was signifying to demographic of white folks, and she was also signifying to demographic of black folks that was tired of the homies having these drive-by shooting up kids in the mid-90s there. People were tired of that. All right. So you have to understand the Black Congressional Caucus stood behind her in that phraseology. Now, that being said, you and I both know that people relate to who they relate to. Right. So the media can relate. The media being run by mostly white people can relate and see themselves in this young white boy. And that's why it's always goes down to, oh, he was mentally ill, blah, blah, blah. If a homie did that, he's a thug. He's he's need to be took off the streets. In my opinion, I think that the reality of the situation is that, in both cases, you're dealing with some sociological and psychological problems, period. I think it's wrong to simply refer to people as animals. One, I think when you refer to them as an animal, animals are not held responsible for what they do. If a chimpanzee goes and beats another chimpanzee to death, there's no criminal court for that. I think we need to make it very clear these are human beings that need to be held accountable for what they've done. Period. And I don't care if you're black, white, in the hood, in the country, whatever you are. If you feel that taking other people's lives is something that you should do, then we need to have a place for you, and that's called prison for the rest of your life. Simple as that. And in that case, it's even worse with this kid. At least if you got the homies in the hood, they at each other, you can understand the circumstances that may bring them into conflict. And it's more than likely that after they do their time in prison, 15, 20 years, they're not coming out and doing that again. This kid, you let him out, he's going to be right back at it. Like Dylan Roof. Dylan Roof still sitting in a cell planning for a race war, So again, I think that the gravity of the situation with these white shooters, these young white boys and mostly high school kids that do this is the gravity of it is the fact that it's so severe that it boggles the mind. So people search for reasons when there is none. People are like, how is this even possible? All right. Anybody can understand, and not that it's right, but if the GDs is fighting the BDs or the Vice Lords or the Stones or something, or vice versa, and they get into it, shooting starts, we understand how that happens. Mm-hmm. We don't agree with it, but we understand how that happened. But some kid everybody's chilling for the 4th of July, he just starts popping people. Nobody understands that. So it boggles the mind. So a lot of it, but also like you and I both said before in other conversations, when Dylan Roof shot those black folk at the church down there, I think it was South Carolina. I can't remember if it was South or North Carolina. But when he did that, like I said, the police gave him some Burger King, because they could see themselves in him. That's why you and I, even though we are tough about holding the brothers accountable in the hood, we ain't throwing them away, because we see ourselves in them. We know that could have been us had we made the wrong choice. And we made a very simple choice.
I'm sorry. I'm throwing some of them niggas away. I'm
you just didn't say that, cuz.
I'm just
I'm going to have to hear about that one, man. Look, don't get me wrong. There are people, I'm going to say, be clear. There are people, black, white, Latino, whatever, that do wrong things that we do say, I'm done with you. What you've done is to the point there is no coming back from that. I get you. Mm-hmm. All right. Even though both of you and I are both Christians, we always have to leave room for redemption of people. Mm-hmm. But that don't mean we just accept people right after they do something. You and I both know. Those of you who don't know, I wrote a book called How to Forgive on Amazon. Look up Richard Gray's How to Forgive. But hold on. We don't have to forgive anybody till they repent.
Listen, your heart belongs to Jesus, but your ass belongs to the car.
Yeah, man. But I'm just saying, bro. I hear what you're saying, but I think that it's just the gravity of these things that happen. Nobody really. It's like it's mind-boggling. You can't fathom it, but it is, and and I know people think it's a cop-out when we say that they have mental illness, but they do. You're not right in the head when you do that. But at the same time, you should never leave prison. You should never leave prison. All right? It's just that simple. That's just horrendous. And also some of the cases, I'm sure there's cases you and I can think of in the hood that we believe them brothers should never get out, Mm-hmm. But there are some cases where we can understand how it got there. You and I, again, we can see ourselves in some decisions some of the brothers do. I'm be honest with you. When I was in Aurora, when I was growing up, I could have easily got caught up in the wrong things. I had a lot of friends that were doing the wrong things. Luckily, a lot of the older homies kind of just, man, step away from this. This ain't for you, man. Do your music. Mm-hmm. But if they had encouraged me to do some dumb stuff, I might have done something dumb, so I understand how that happens, so, but at the same time, again, this father helping this boy get a gun, when your son don't threaten to kill all y'all, don't threaten to kill himself, I ain't helping my son get no gun. Right? In fact, the only thing I'm helping you get is some therapy. That's it. That's all you get from me is a trip to a psychologist or social worker who can work this out. So, but I hear what you're saying, bro. Yes, black males are looked at as predators and thugs and, and unredeemable. Man, yeah, we all know there's a history about how black males are looked at, period. Anyway, you and I are looked at as dangerous. We could be walking down the street. I've been racially profiled before. I'm sure you have been too. So we know that as a black man, we're always going to be looked at a certain way, and that's why I say it's more important to us that we don't play into those type of stereotypes, or don't accept that as what we're supposed to be trying to do. Like we talked about the sisters last week, that they go, they have a warped sense of what a black man is supposed to be, like you said, protecting from what? Where are you going that you need all this security? You need your man to be ready to go to war for you. You know what I mean? So, but I'm trying to be nice here,
you can be nice. I ain't listen. You on a different trajectory on certain things, and I understand. I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be that one guy in the room. I'm gonna be that one guy who says what we all got on our mind.
So that being said, now that we done, talked about why we think young white males should be scrutinized very, very seriously for their giving guns. Especially, can I just add a caveat? Young white males who've shown a history of mental illness, maybe we might want to look at that, but then again, like I said, we got to look at how we're treating mental illness, because we talked about the hood. One of the things in the hood that a lot of people have is PTSD, from stuff they've dealt with. It leads to some bad situations, Now that doesn't, you hear me? I'm not. So let me be clear. I don't believe in excusing the dude with the mental illness or his daddy. I'm not excusing the brothers in the hood who choose to do bad things because they might have PTSD or have dealt with some mental illness or trauma, because ultimately, me, I'm always going to say it goes back to choices. Because dude might have been mentally ill, but he chose to do what he did. He was mentally ill, but also evil, evil. Simple as that. You set your mind to do that type of evil, you got evil going on. There's a lot of mentally ill people that don't do evil. So mental ill does not equate to evil. Simple as that. So, but anyway, I digress, bro. So I know I only got you for so long tonight. So what else do we say we're going to talk about? Did you see Jordan Peterson's video that I posted up there?
No, I didn't.
Message to the church. Oh man, you got to watch that video, bro.
Jordan. Oh no, I didn't. Oh no, but we were going to talk about at one time, and maybe this isn't the show for that. The Christian church, there are extreme evangelical positions. Even the liberal side of the Christian church, in how that the pitting against each other, the polarization in that is not even close to what Christ intended for us as a church to be divided over.
What do you mean as far as the polarization between
political interests?
Right, political. Well, I've said this before, and I've said that anytime you predicate your Christianity on a politic, if you predicate your Christianity, you say I'm a liberal Christian, or you say I'm a conservative Christian. The moment you say one of those two things, you no longer have Christianity. You have what I call Antichrist. Your Christianity, your faith should not.
Shots fired, Rich.
Yeah, because if you predicate your Christianity in a social, political, or social, economic, or cultural position, then you've put that before Christ, and that is Antichrist. I mean, that's the definition of it. All right, so if you choose to follow Christ, then Christ should come first. Now, that doesn't mean you're a perfect human being, but at least you think about what would Jesus do when you're doing things. Even if you do the wrong thing, Jesus wouldn't be with it. and you're not going to predicate what you decide to support or believe on a politic. You know, you like say your Christianity should inform your politics shouldn't inform your Christianity. And that's just the truth of it. So when you got the left part of the church, it's into all this social justice and all that stuff because, and true, Jesus was about that. But at the same time, these are the same people that ignore all this sinful antichrist behavior that they want to embrace. All right. But they call themselves Christians. On the right, you have Christians who, yeah, great. You're anti-abortion. That's great. You know, but at the same time, you don't have a heart of charity to take care of people, you know, the people that you are, you know, making have babies. So, you know, that's what it comes down to, bro. Real talk. You know, if you're going to be about Jesus, be about Jesus. All right. If you want to be about a politic, own that for yourself. Don't try to blame Jesus for it. You know, and that's what I'm saying. But the polarization within the church is just, to me, it's reflective of the polarization in American society on every level right now. You know, because the church has always been polarized. I mean, during the Civil War, you had Christians that were abolitionists, and you had Christians that were slaveholders and wanted to maintain slavery. You know, you're always going to have that because regardless of what people like to believe, politics and religion are not separate things. They're entwined. They have always been, and they will continue to be. So there's no getting away from that. That's why if you're a real believer in Christ Jesus, then you need to be spiritual. You need to have that spiritual faith. You need to walk in that spiritual faith. And you need to know what the difference is. You need to know when you're being politically played and when, you know, it's about what you say it's about. And I'm not saying everybody got their own politics, but just admit that this is you. This is you and your politics. This ain't got nothing to do with Jesus. Just quit throwing Jesus in it. You know, At least that's what I got to say about it. Thoughts?
I mean that's certainly the take I have on it. I've heard every argument as to why we would, as Christians, maybe should be on one side, and some on the other. It's never clear cut. Never clear cut answer. I just think that we have to. First of all, our government ain't coming to save us no way. So to fight over them is just ridiculous to begin with. You fighting over Caesar, really? I mean, what are we doing? What is our expectation? And then you're questioning people's Christianity based on what they vote politically. While I can understand why you would question why you would vote for someone who doesn't agree with your faith in certain degree, but both sides have some things that don't agree. So
Yeah.
It becomes of what are we really doing? We're splitting hairs on evil.
Right. There is no politic. There is no political system in history that is in complete alignment with the teachings of Jesus Christ. All right. So let me be the first to break it to you. The Republican Party does not completely reflect the teachings of Jesus Christ, and the Democratic Party does not reflect the teachings of Jesus Christ, and the Libertarian Party doesn't reflect the teachings of Jesus Christ. The Green Party doesn't reflect the teachings of Jesus Christ. So there is a political party that's going to reflect the teachings of Jesus Christ in its totality. So they're all flawed, period. So I don't think you're any more or less of a Christian by picking a particular party. You know, now it all depends on the things you support. You know, some things I would say if you supported some things, they are against the teachings of Jesus Christ. And other things I will say are congruent with the teachings of Jesus Christ. But I'm not saying you can't have a belief, or as a Christian, you can hold in your head some beliefs that Jesus doesn't endorse, but just be clear in saying that this is all me. This ain't Jesus. That's all. You know, don't blame it on Jesus. You know, so yeah, so that's where we're at, man. You and I had talked, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how ineffective the church is in the Black community right now.
Yeah, it's a big thing. I think so. Here's the thing, and I've said this to some of my friends who happen to be preachers. First of all, let's start with. I want to start with the televangelists. That they're dying out. They're dying breed. They're almost getting desperate. You got Jesse Duplantis talking about, oh, the reason Jesus can't come back because people ain't tired of giving money. I'm like, they're desperate because right now their constituency that's been giving them money are now older and going to die out. the new generation, my kids, and even myself, my generation, my kids, first of all, they don't watch TV at all. At
No.
all. So they're not going to see you on television. I mean, obviously they're on YouTube now and social media platforms, but you're old and unrelatable to the younger generation. And I think that's part of the church's problem. And then you have this mega church, this boom of mega churches, which is also dying. The mega churches are dying. They become faddish. Some churches are big for 10 years and they continue to run. Then another big church pops up, at least in here in the city, and people flock to that. And it's a constant flocking to the big mega churches thing, where people can hide and not really be pastored. How can you effectively pastor people? One person pastor 5,000 people. That is not possible. What you have is too much leadership, worship. Jesus had 12 disciples with 5,000 families, and we know it's more people. But if he had sense enough to have 12 people help him pastor and feed folks, what makes you think that you, who is not Christ, walking on water, one pastor can pastor people, 5,000 people? Because you don't want your ministers under you to take your shine, because they may be a little more addicted. Let's keep it real.
Well, I've seen that. I've been a Christian since 1997, I believe. And I've been to various types of churches. I've seen what you're talking about. I mean, look at, I saw the Word of Faith movement at its peak, the prosperity ministry at its peak, with, your Creflo Dollars and TD Jakes and Joel Osteens and Paula Whites and, and here's the thing, bro. I think that the African American church, at least, was very influential in Black neighborhoods, Black communities, up until you probably get to the late 70s. I would say up into the 80s, actually, when you do see a growth in this prosperity teaching, name it, claim it, everything's about your tithes, and, there's a $50 prayer line and $100 prayer line. And, this coincides with the crack epidemic. All right. So here's the thing. You got a young Black boy at the crib, right? And grandma's tithing from her Social Security check, right? She tithing, her lights get cut off and the church don't help her, but him and his crack money's turning grandma's lights back on. He is not likely to become a Christian. He's not likely to come to your church, and then that pastor no longer has any authority to speak to him or anybody else in the hood about anything, because you're just another shyster. You just another hustler. You just got another game, So I think that that's made the church ineffective in African American communities. The inconsistency of modeling the teachings of Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ's teaching ain't that hard. Love your neighbors, love yourself. Jesus preached a sermon. All right. He said a year of the Lord sermon, and he said, I come to preach, deliverance to the captives. And he went and started healing people and giving food to people and, taking care of sick people and stuff like that. That's what we're supposed to do as the saints. That's what people should see. If they don't see that in operation, they're not seeing Jesus in you. So it makes you ineffective. You don't have any moral high ground to stand on, because you just, as far as they're concerned, another hustler in the neighborhood, just taking grandma's money. That's how they look at it, So we'll see what happens. Did you see when Creflo Dollar said that tithing was not biblical anymore, or something like that?
Well, the way he was saying it wasn't. He preached it wrong. He preached it from the avenue of the law, in that regard. But it's sad, and the reason it's sad, I almost think it's a marketing ploy. And this is Rich. This is why Black Pentecostal preachers need to have their hips in somebody's seminary before they get out and preach. Really, because it's time out for spirit and faith, but you don't want to get no education. And so if you had an education, you would have known. I ain't gonna say I don't have a formal education. I did go to have apologetics training through Ravi Zacharias, but my point is, I knew that tithing was a principle started in Abraham. So you mean to tell me, Creflo Dollar, you've been preaching to all these people for years, and you ain't read the book? You didn't know that?
Well, my position.
I would have walked out of his church Then you didn't know that? You've been wrong for 30 years? What else you
Well,
wrong at, Creflo? Oh,
here's
we
my.
know what else you wrong at. We know what else you wrong at, bro. We gonna leave it
I'm not
alone.
gonna go on Creflo.
The name is it Creflo Dollar? I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I always said that tithing is an Old Testament principle based on the law. And even based on that Old Testament principle, it's not really ever done right in any church I've ever seen. You know.
Rich, don't even go there with me, Rich.
Right.
Because
So
tithing was never money to begin with. It was always alms and raiments and food. But go ahead, bro.
I mean, I agree with you.
It was never money.
You know, I
and
believe
the money that they did give,
the
priesthood can only take 10% of it.
Well, and it was for the widows and the orphans, and you and I know that. But here's my thing: the New Testament principle is about alms, and it's actually the New Testament principle is about community living, like the Amish do, or like the Mennonites do. Now we know we're not doing that, but it is about giving what you can to do what you can. And my thing is this: if you're going to a church, folks, I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't care if you're tithing or giving alms or whatever, but if you're going to a church and you ain't getting a quarterly or at least semi-annually report about what's going on with the money, then I don't know what to tell you. And I don't want to hear that God knows what they're doing stuff. Come on, man. You're giving money to a church. You're part of an organization, a non-for-profit organization. You should be able to see the fruit of what you're giving. All right. And you should be able to see the ministries that you're doing, the donations that you're doing. If nobody can be transparent about that, then you're in the wrong place. And I said it. I'm sorry if anybody get their feelings hurt. All right. The church I fellowship with, we get a yearly report. We see exactly what's going on, where the money's going. Pastors not getting paid $250,000 and got a house and got a car. I mean, don't get me wrong. If your church can afford that, so be it. But it's not required. All right. So I'm going to save for this one because next time we talk about this, I want to have scripture to back up what I'm saying. So I'm just going to say at the very least, if you're in a church, in a ministry, and you're giving your tithes or offerings, then I would strongly suggest that you hold that church accountable to do the mission of Jesus Christ, and for it not to be something where everybody getting their money on. You know, the only people getting rich is the preachers. All right. And we know that happens. But anyway, man, my boy Nalo has popped on, so I'm going to bring him on to talk to us for a minute before you get off, Jonathan, because I know you got to go.
Yeah.
Nalo, what's up, brother?
What's happening? How y'all doing?
All right.
Nalo, you know, you see my boy Jonathan. Jonathan, this is my boy Nalo. Nalo has known me probably most of my life. Am I right, Nalo?
Yeah, we were kids, man.
Yeah. Long time, man. So Nalo's a good dude, good brother. You've seen him comment a few times on different things we're talking about. So, you know, me and Nalo, we're going to chop it up a little bit. You know, Nalo, did you hear what we were just saying about the church?
Yeah. I agree with you 100% on that one.
Yeah. You know, it's just, man, you know, you got to be responsible to your community if you want the respect of your community. Like I said, back in the old days, the pastor in the community, if we saw the pastor, we was out acting a fool, he could tell us to stop and we respected him because we knew that he was taking care of the community, that when grandma's lights got cut off, he was the one helping getting turned on. Or if she didn't have groceries, the church was the one making sure she was eating. But now, unfortunately, we see a lot of taking from the church. You know, churches just taking money from the hood. You know, pastor live out in the suburbs hiding out. You know, he driving a Mercedes, and you got these single moms dragging their children to church. They don't even got coats. You know, so people see that. You know, so we should have been shifted from that mentality, that prosperity preaching mentality a long time ago. You know?
Do you remember Franco Martinez?
Yeah.
He used to cut hair in the roundhouse.
Yeah, I remember him.
Okay. He was my first true face of Christianity, man.
Wow.
That dude was preaching to us, and you know, I mean, he grew up in the same neighborhood, a little bit older, but he preached. I mean, every time you sit in his chair, you were getting preached to, right? And when this last incident happened, and I went down, I reached out to him. And I reached out to him literally to put him to the test, man. And he came through with flying colors, man. We've been family ever since, man.
Wow.
He literally is the type of person you were talking about. He makes things happen. If he finds out that somebody in the church is struggling, he don't even have to be in the church, but if he finds out somebody's struggling, he starts the campaign and he'll make it happen. And he's been like that for as long as I've known him, man. He is a true,
yeah, that's someone who has the heart of Christ for real.
right. Yeah.
Right. And that's all we asking for. We know that we don't make perfect people. People make mistakes. People ain't always right. But at the end of the day, repentance is about striving to turn in the right direction and being better than you were the day before. That's all.
Right.
You know, nobody's perfect, but we expect for people, if you follow in Christ, if you profess in Christ, then, you know, try to step up and be like Christ. It's not it's not hard. The gospel is not hard. People make it complicated. It's not hard. You know,
this is true. I personally watched the politics of the church, man, and you know, it's a disgusting thing, man, to see sometimes.
It is. You know, people use it as their own fiefdom sometimes, you know, their own position of power. And like I said, some people just use it to get rich. Now, so I'm gonna say this: if your church is you at a church and people sitting there, if you got $100 line for prayer, you are in the wrong church. Sorry, I said it. So I'm sorry if I hurt somebody's feelings. But at the end of the day, yeah, you at the wrong church. You know,
exactly.
It's not about that. It shouldn't be about that. You know, but you know, they got people so brainwashed, man. You know, I'm like, so what did your church do? I don't ask where the money go. God know where it go. Unless God is sending Michael, the angel, as an accountant to do the books, then you need to look.
Right.
It's not complicated. You know what I'm saying? You know, maybe there's an angel of accounting with it. You know, I don't know. But
there is one thing that I will add to that, though, man. Every church has both sides. You know what I mean? Because there is really, really, really good people in those churches.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
You know, I say that because I've witnessed it, you know, firsthand, the politics, and then you see the other people like, what does that have to do with anything? You know, let's get this done. Let's do what we got to do. And then there's always the political side, like, you know, trying to tread lightly. How is this going to affect us? How is it going to affect our bottom dollar? How is it going to affect our appearance? You know, things like that. I had my kids for most of their life had gone to, some of my kids anyway, have gone to a private Christian school. And my youngest, when he went to the school, he was there for, I think, 2 years. My daughter was there for 1.5 years. And then my other son, he didn't want to go. And then at one point he's like, you know what? I want to go to the church. And I didn't really know at the time, but he had a girl that was thinking he was a bad guy, and he wanted to go show he was a good guy. You know what I mean? And but they didn't want him in the church. The church, everybody in the church knew what I did. You know what I mean? They knew what I did for a living. I own a martial arts gym. You know, we train fighters. And, you know, we had some church family members that frowned on that, or like, you know, they would make comments to me like, are you still fighting? You know? And
wow.
and it's like, I'm teaching my kids how to take care of themselves. And I said, listen, if you believe in the Bible as much as you say you do, in that Bible, it tells us that in the last days, somebody's going to be coming and rounding up Christians and trying to abuse Christians and other people. And I'm going to be one of those fighting back. If you believe the words in that book,
bro, say it ain't happening.
There have been people fighting since the dawn of time, you know. Right. And I said, and if it comes down to it, and I see somebody trying to harm you or somebody else in the church, I'm going to be one of the people to step up, you know. Yeah. So what's the problem, you know?
But you know, you got them religious folks, man. And here's my thing, man. I just don't have no time for religious folk, man. Well,
right.
He fights, or I saw him have a drink, or, you know, or he parks his car on the wrong side of the street. All that stuff had nothing to do with the gospel, man. Nothing to do with it. That's all they own hangups, man. Everybody got their hangups, you know.
You said it earlier. Be good to your neighbor, man.
Yeah, it's not complicated.
No.
Yeah. I went to church one time that didn't want the people go bowling. I'm like, bowling? I mean, what does the bowling ball represent? Something satanic I don't know about? The pins, right. You know, how many pins on in a bowling? Is it 12 of them? Maybe they think the bowling ball represents the rolling over of the disciples. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but it's just, but I'm just saying, I don't know.
But those mentalities are real, man.
Yeah.
And they exist everywhere and not just in religion. I had when I first came home, I mean, I was in church religiously, and I haven't gone to church in years, man, just because of my own beliefs have changed, But I used to dress casual to church just because of my own. And I had some church members, whispering about how I dressed, you know what I mean? And I even had one of my sons that was really, really close to some church family that he would tell me, he's like, Dad, why don't you put on your Sunday best? And I said, listen, man, I'm not going to spend a week doing what I do, acting how I act, and then put on a face and go to church, man. I said, if we believe in God the way we say we believe in God, if we believe in our creator in the way that we say we believe in our creator, that nigga knows I ain't acting right. He knows, why am I going to put on a face? I'm going to dress as me. If I'm going to go and sit down in the presence of greatness, I'm going to go as myself. And if I believe what I say I believe, he likes me like that,
Exactly.
And
well, I mean, and we know that, man. I'm glad a lot of churches got away from the formal dressing and all that stuff. The Bible says, come as you are. All right.
Right.
And I don't think God is sitting back saying, oh, he came into business casual. Michael, write that down. Remember that about Nalo's in business casual today.
Right.
But that is us. We do all the things the Bible tells us not to do. The Bible says God judges by the inward man. Man judges by the outward man. That's where those sayings come. Don't judge a book by its cover. It comes from those type of things.
Yep.
We judge people, if he got too many tattoos on, oh, he's a biker, he's not saved. And I've seen some real saved biker dudes, man. Or he's a gangbanger. You ever see a gangbanger when they become a Christian?
I have, yes.
As dedicated as they was to the gang is as dedicated as they are to Christ. They are serious as a heart attack, bro. I've seen guys that in prison, for example, when they really become Christians, they become Christians for real. It ain't no, ain't no game there. They for real about it and how they treat everybody, So, people can say what they want to say, but that's us as humans. We judge people about who you are, how much money you got, what you got on, where you live, where you came from. We continue to do that, and we always, it's like we never learn. That lesson has been forever. Never judge a book by the cover. And as Christians, we're supposed to discern spirits and see past the physical and see what the person really is. Because the devil doesn't come ugly. The devil doesn't come looking broke. The devil don't come looking like a gangbanger. The devil don't come look like a biker. The devil come looking at you like what you want. He don't come to you looking like that beautiful woman, like that real handsome businessman guy with the suit. That's how, I can't trick you if I'm coming straight out at you. That's the devil's about deception. So there's so many people get caught up. I remember we had a conversation. I was talking about women need to be careful. I said women shouldn't be so, if a goofy guy who's awkward is looking at you and you think, oh my God, he's a creep. Okay, yeah, he just might be awkward. The dude you got to watch, the one that might actually do something to you, is one that's going to come with flattering words and just, he's going to be everything you want him to be until he's not, But I ain't going to preach on that today. I don't need the feminists. They always owe me for last week what I said about feminist sociologists and feminist social scientists. Thanks to Jonathan. He always leads me down that wrong path.
I watched that. Yeah, I watched that last week, and I had a bunch of opinions too. I reached out to you and let you know. I was like, yeah, I feel you on a lot of that stuff, man.
Yeah, but me and Nalo, we go back and forth and stuff. But it's always, man, I respect Nalo, man. He knows that. We might disagree from time to time, but for the most part, we agree. But overall, even if I disagree, I know his heart. I know that he actually cares about people. He's not trying to harm nobody. Because like I said, people can say the right things and their heart be in the complete wrong place, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's the part that you got to look out for, because that's what gets you. Well, Jonathan, we holding you hostage, man, because I know you.
Yeah, man, I got to take off, man.
You still good? All right, man. Now we're gonna chop it up a little bit. All right.
Thanks, bro.
All right, I'll talk with you, Jonathan.
All
right, bro. So first of all, good to see you, man. We haven't physically talked, and I've been trying to coordinate getting you on. We went through COVID and everything, man. You know, I normally had JL sometime on, man. I had Andy Williams on one time from the city. You know, so it's good having you on, man, because I know you're doing a lot of things, man. Tell me about your martial arts. You still got your studio?
Yeah, that's my kind of like my main thing right now.
What arts are you guys teaching there? What do you focus on?
A little bit of everything, man. MMA, man. So we're doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing.
Okay, cool. You got a lot of young people, or is it mixed?
It is a little bit mixed, man. It is a little bit mixed, man. It's a small gym, small town, but yeah, it's a little bit mixed.
All right, man. I'm gonna have to come by, man. You know, so shoot me the address, so I'll come by and see you guys, man. You know, so tell me, man. You know, I know that your life has gone through some things, man. Tell us your testimony, man. What you got to tell us, bro? Because I want to hear about it, because we really haven't been able to really talk. If you feel comfortable talking about it.
You know, I don't. I mean, I share it with the world, man, already, so it doesn't bother me, man. I mean, you know where I grew up. That's one of the things that last week's talk touched me a little bit, because I was like, yeah, you know, there's a little bit more to it, you know. So you were talking about people making decisions, man. And you know, when it all comes down to it, it's about people making decisions. We all grew up in the same hood, yet we got friends that are very successful, and we got friends that threw their life in the dirt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think the biggest part is being young and impressionable. You know, I grew up in the hood. You know, everybody in my family was gang banging. You know, I thought that's what I was supposed to do. You know what I mean? I thought that's what we were. You know, and you know, and I gave it my all. You know, as a young kid, I gave it my all, and gave more than I really wanted to in the end. You know, and you know, I ended up. I try to share with these kids, man. You know, the first time I went to prison, I was really, really young, man. You know, we grew up in the hood talking stupid. Oh, I'm not never going to see 18 anyway, so I'm going to live it up, you know. And at 18 years old, I went to prison for the first time. And I try to tell kids I went to prison for the first time for my very, very best friend. That nigga threw a pistol at my feet in the car when we got pulled over and wouldn't take his weight, you know.
Wow.
You know, I get to trial, and it's a decision. It's a keep the code, keep my mouth shut, or this guy gets up there and takes his weight. And it was the last minute where he said he wasn't going to take his weight, because he had said, you know, yeah, I'm going to take the weight from my pistol. And we get to trial, and all of a sudden, his lawyer comes and tells my lawyer he's not going to take the weight for that pistol. So I'm stuck in a moral dilemma. This is my best friend, and only till that day did I realize where he really was. You know, so I try to tell kids all the time, you can grow up with somebody and they could be your homie. I mean, we did a lot of stuff together. Me and that dude did a lot of stuff together, but we never got caught. The minute we got caught is when that friendship was tested, and he failed. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I ended up going to prison at 18. I came home at 21, worse than when I got locked up. You know,
where was you locked up at? What joint did you go to?
The first time I spent 2 years in the county. So by the time I got sentenced, they sent me straight to East Moline. So you know, I ain't learned a damn thing in East Moline.
No,
East Moline, not in the early 90s. You know,
no, that was a different spot.
Yeah, we was wearing our own clothes and getting good visits. I mean, you could get whatever you wanted in there. You know, so I didn't really learn a whole lot. Came home, and all the guys were gone, man. You know, all the guys were gone. So guess who's, you know, seniority? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, so I didn't last very long. Then I ended up getting locked up in '96 for the incident with the police officers, and man, that hurt, man. That was you know, I ended up doing 10 out of that. They gave me 45 originally, 30 to do, and then ended up getting it dropped down to 20. Did 10. When I came home, I had already made a decision. I mean, I literally matured in prison, mentally matured in prison. I'm sitting in prison like, oh damn. I just threw everything away, man, you know. And I decided at that point, I said, you know what, when I come home, man, it's gonna be different. I'm gonna I taught myself law at 18 years old, you know what I'm saying? So I spent all them years being a jailhouse lawyer. I told myself I was gonna come home with an education that would blind them to my convictions. And that's ultimately what ended up happening is you know, I came home and and started moved to Georgia immediately. I mentioned
Yeah.
Franco earlier. So Franco, we ended up getting really, really close, and his son started getting into trouble. So he moved away from Aurora and moved to Georgia. But he actually scouted the country for a good place to raise his kids, and he chose this area here. And he told me, "Look, you want to start over? Come out here." So we did. We ended up coming out here. Ended up getting my first job was moving furniture, and then I ended up becoming a supervisor in one of these carpet mills, and then I ended up interviewing for an attorney, and he was impressed. He gave me a job right out the door, man, and been paralegal for now it's 30 years, but I stopped working in 17.
Okay, man, that's impressive,
Kind of
bro.
semi-retired in 17.
So when we get off, man, we're gonna see where you at, man, because I got to go down to Georgia. I got to go to Atlanta for something. I've never been to Georgia, bro.
That's an hour and 15, 20 minutes south of me. So you got to pass by me to get to Atlanta.
Okay, kids. I've never been to Atlanta, Georgia. Never been to Georgia. I got a homie down in Georgia that I need to go see that I ain't seen in years. And, I'll come and check you out, man. I want to see your gym, just see how you doing, man. Yeah, sometimes getting away from the town is the best thing. I know some of the brothers still stayed out there. And, and I hear what you're saying, man. I'm glad you got that input in it because you lived it. I've observed it,
Right.
I was DJing. So I was breakdancing and DJing. So most of the time, guys like you kind of told me to stay out the way.
I was holding up the wall.
Yeah, but y'all wouldn't. I'm be honest with you, most of y'all wouldn't let me get in no trouble anyway. I mean, I'm being frank. The guys that I knew on all the different groups that we had at that time. I think we had 4 mobs. We had 4 mobs in a row at that time.
Yeah.
But I knew people from all of them, and DJ and party with Hitman, and then you really you get to know people.
Yep.
And I knew all you guys, as good guys, so I guess what I was trying to say last week is you're right. People can make bad choices. You got influences. It happens. My point is, though, most guys, if they get that one real lick in prison, they're like, I'm done with this, bro. Because, you grow up, anybody can make a mistake. That's what I'm saying. Like we were talking about the guy from that did the shooting up in Highland Park.
Right. I was there. I was there for the 4th.
Dang, bro. I'm glad. Whew. And this guy, man, that's evil, bro. And I'm not trying to excuse the stuff that go on in the hood, but I understand how that happens. People make a mistake, they do the wrong thing, do their time. Most of the time that person does his time, they're like, I'm good, But with that other type of stuff, man, they're generally
and there's the distinction, right? That I was kind of catching a little bit. I got some raw opinions. You already know how I am. I'm raw and it don't even matter what nobody thinks. I don't have nobody to answer to in this world. You know what I'm saying? So I say what I want to say. Gangbanging is a different creature, right? You have 2 men, kids, whatever, playing a game, a very, very dangerous game, but they're both willing participants. Just because of with tragic endings, yes, but they're both willing participants. What that kid did in Highland Park, man, was straight up savage, evil, because those were innocent people that, he had absolutely no ties to whatsoever. You know what I mean? Right. And, as a young kid, so we go into the mall and we get into a fight with XYZ, and then all of a sudden, everything gets hyped up and we go back looking for XYZ, and it goes back and forth all the time. And a lot of times it ended, starting in the 90s and mid to late 90s, it started getting, very, very violent. Growing up, there used to be a fist fight at the mall, you know what I'm saying? Or at Waldo or at East, and it's over with. You see him again, another fist fight, it's over with. In the 90s, all that changed, man, and changed the whole world. But again, those are people that in competing in martial arts, I found something that I try to help administrators understand. You got to get kids into sports or something like that, because that adrenaline is where you find the same kind of adrenaline. The adrenaline that we would get, or that I would get anyway, a young kid gangbanging, I found that same adrenaline in competing in martial arts. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
The build up, like, okay, I know we're about to go get down. You know what I'm saying? Then it happens. And then there's the excitement of winding down, you know, after you get back to the hood or whatever. Well, I found that same excitement competing in jiu-jitsu. I'd go to the tournament, I'd be hyped up. It's going to go down. You go out there, you compete, win, lose, or draw. And then there's the excitement of winding back down. Like, hey, man, that was, you know, win, lose, or draw. That was, you know, that was good stuff. You know what I mean? So I try to teach administrators or try to help administrators understand you got to make these things available for kids, man. Football, wrestling, things like that. And I push martial arts because wrestling is seasonal. Football is seasonal. Baseball is seasonal. Martial arts can be all year round. You know what I mean? And so I try to get them to understand, man, when I was a kid, I didn't know to go sign up for wrestling. You know what I mean? I didn't know to go sign up for football. It, you know, it was like you hear about it, but there wasn't a big excitement about, hey, man, let's go do this. You know what I mean? And I think we have to find a way to make it exciting for kids to and once they start, you know, maybe they find something other than the streets.
I hear what you're saying, man. I hear what you're saying. That's very important. I think you're right, man. When we have those programs in schools or even summer, even for summer, you know, for kids to do something. Yeah, you get, because men are competitive. Like, you know, exactly. I know this wasn't the same, but, you know, I was a break dancer. So, you know, understand, we saw AC Rockers. It was like, oh, it's on. You know, that adrenaline come because
it is the same.
Yeah. So we did that, you know, whenever we saw AC, you know, it would be a B-Boys and Street Freaks, we was ready to go. And it was dead serious. Right. But we all walked away from it, you know, just, you know, maybe you scraped your knee breakdancing. That's about as far as it went, you know. So, I mean, occasionally, even in a situation like that, occasionally. Yeah, that's my point. Even in a situation like that, yeah, if it turned to a fight, it was still just a fight. You know, and that's it. You walk away and you live from a fight. I remember I was in the Marines in the 90s, and I remember hearing the stories about Aurora and what was going on. I was like, what the hell's going on? You know, because I remember, like I said, I left Aurora 88. So in 88, it was still, there'd be a fight, you know. If we heard about somebody getting shot, that was really, you know, but then I started hearing about people getting shot that I knew. You know, and I was like, what the hell is going on? You know, and then we went from the 4 basic mobs that were out there to a lot more. You know, I'm like, when do we get that? And when they do this? And what's going on? So we kind of got caught up with the Chicago stuff too, because we're so close. You know, so yeah, man, it's sad, but it's died down a bit. You know, even though they do still have situations happen out there, it isn't as bad as I heard the 90s were.
Right. The 90s were pretty rough, man. Now I think a big problem now is the social media. So I have another theory about this. You get 2 guys that are gangbanging on social media, being hyped up to the point of no return. Well, now I got to go and do this. Now I have to go and, you know, back in the early 90s, late 80s, it was like, if you happen to see somebody, there might be a fight. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of, running around looking, you know what I mean? You know, how are we going to talk crazy to each other if we don't see each other, you know? But now you have Snapchat and, you know, even music, man. I mean, I was hearing about these guys in the city rapping about, you know, all the guys they done smoked and this and this and that. And then
that's caused some problems.
Yeah. Well, I was hearing one guy was posting on Snapchat or something live. I'm over here getting my hair cut or whatever. They rode up on him and assassinated him. You know, and it's like, because
you know, these guys will get on Snapchat or Instagram and say that they in somebody's hood, you know, and people coming for you, man. There's been a lot of rappers that have been killed doing that, you know. I remember Tekashi 6ix9ine went to O Block in Chicago because he was in it with I think Chief Keef or something, one of those dudes. But he was there. He said, "I'm in y'all hood. I'm here." But it was like 4 in the morning. Nobody was out. Nobody could do it. You know, so on a Tuesday, 4 in the morning on a Tuesday. You know, so and I'm not encouraging him or any fool to go do something like that, you know.
Right.
But it's really bad, you know. The one, you know, I see a lot of the consequences of it. So like when that one guy, I think of the rapper I talked about him last week, FBD Duck or FBG Duck. I think he was a gangster disciple, and he wrote a song rapping about all the black disciples that had been killed and
Right.
mocking them. And man, and them dudes came looking for him, and he was on the north side, Gold Coast, rich Gold Coast of Chicago, where nothing ever happens. They didn't care, you know.
Right.
And now you becoming a famous rapper, now you shot up and you're dead. Your mom's mourning you. If you got kids, they don't got a father anymore. Over what, bro?
Exactly.
You know, you should be, if you're trying to, I you know, when I was out west, when I was in the Marines, you know, I got to know a few people out there that did music and stuff, rappers and stuff. And I remember talking about Ice Cube, and I started trying to wonder what the hell people thinking. They were like, Ice Cube, he ain't no real gangster. I'm like, you know, that's like me saying, "Oh, did you see Goodfellas? Yeah, man, it was good. But Joe Pesci, he ain't no real gangster. Is he supposed to be? You know what I'm saying? You know, it's like, so
Right.
once the rappers had to be gangsters for real, you know, now we're seeing some real consequences. So these guys are killing each other, man. And, you know, it's just sad. You know, like
It
that
is.
one kid, the one kid from New York, I forgot his name, man. He's Pop Smoke, you know. He made some, I like his music. You know, I listen to the kid. He seemed like just a regular kid, enjoying music, and he was at, you know, moving, his career is moving up, and he went out to California, staying at a bed, staying at like a B&B, Airbnb or whatever.
Mhm.
But they're showing where they're at, and they're on camera, and people see the addresses, so they ride up there to rob these guys, and they kill them. You know, it's like, come on, you know. But that's, like you said, that social media aspect.
And I think
You know,
that's a
so
big part of it, man. You know, I had I don't know if you remember the two kids, bro, that they were at the Howard Johnson, and they saw these guys in the hallway, and they went to the room and they smoked two of them, right?
dang.
I ended up locked up with both of them kids, right?
Mhm.
And one of them I was locked up with him for a while. One of them, he was in the cell with me for one night, right? And you know, I didn't know it. He gets there, I give him soap, toothbrush, toothpaste, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And you know, he's opposition to me, right?
Mhm.
But man, I got bigger things to worry about, man. These guys were trying to give me 120 years, man. I ain't worried about shit like
That's all
that.
you worry about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he comes in, you know, I try to take care of him, you know, and I told him, look, dude, I ain't on none of that, but you ain't got nothing to worry about, man. Right? He's nervous as all get out. First thing in the morning, he walks himself, right? And
Mhm.
after he walks himself, some other guys on the block are like, dude, he walked himself because he got a giant upside down, you know, da 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 on his hand. I'm like, okay. Okay. So you know, okay. But then his co-defendant came in, and his
Mhm.
co-defendant, you know, same thing. I treated him right. You know what I mean? He's a young kid. I mean, he was like 17 at the time. Uh,
Damn.
uh, and we ended up in the same cell block for a while, man. And getting to understand these guys, man, it's like, you know what? We're all the same, man. The
Mhm.
only difference is that you wear one color, I wear a different color. You grew up in that neighborhood, I grew up in this neighborhood. I said, but the reality is, them two kids that were at the freaking hotel, you know what they were at the hotel doing? The same thing we all used to do. Go to the damn hotel to get the fuck off the streets and just go chill for a while. And that particular night, both sets of guys went to the same hotel to do the same thing. Go take some girls to the hotel, hang out, party a little bit, and get the hell off the streets. And they ran into each other, and two of them ended up dead. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
It's crazy, man. You know, we have the same cultural backgrounds, listen to the same music. You know, it's if it weren't for those colors, you wouldn't know that we were, you know, that we were opposition. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know, Nipsey Hussle, one of the songs he made, and I forgot the title of the song. And you know, I spent some years out in LA, so I kind of got to understand how they moved out there. But it's still the
Right.
same thing. He was talking about in the song that when he go looking for the enemy, right? You know, LA is a enemy hood, so they go and look for the enemy. He said they're looking for whoever they're looking for, the enemy. He says he looks, he sees that guy, that kid. No, that kid's he's a student. Right? That's not what I'm looking for.
Right.
And he saw that kid right there. He's a Muslim. I'm not looking for that guy. Or that kid right there. No, he's going to church. I'm looking for that guy. He said, but that guy right there, yeah, that's him right there. And he said, the guy I'm looking for is me. That's who I'm looking for. I'm looking for me. I'm looking for me in a different color.
Right.
You know, so it's really you gave some wisdom there, man, for your practical experience of it. And I'm glad that you work with young people, man. And I know we've been meaning to hook up. You know, there's some stuff I want to do a show where I talk to you and a couple other guys and get some ideas about reentry. And I'm gonna talk to you after we get off about some other stuff that I can't talk about right here because it's business for stuff I'd like to see happen in the future. Some places I'd like to see you speak. Some people I'd like to see you speak to. So we'll talk about that. Yeah, because I always tell people when I'm talking to people who are in a bad situation, I can talk to them up until a point about, yeah, I was hanging out with these guys. I know how you got here. I know how you got to this point, but I can't talk about what happens after now you're locked up.
Right.
I can't tell you what it's like to have to live in a cell.
Right.
I don't know. So a lot of times they need to hear that from people who can actually say, yeah, not only, yeah, this is what happens when you do this. This is what happened to me when I did this. And then they also need to hear that his story don't end there. Right. I look at you and my guy JL, and guys I know that have, and y'all were good guys when I knew you on the street before, but choices happen. Boom, there you are. But you the person that you really are is going to come out eventually anyway.
Right.
So it comes out. Now you look like, so, I'm proud of you guys for not looking back. You're looking back to help, but not looking back. You moved on because you and I both know some people, unfortunately, that we grew up with, that's what they still on, man. You're like,
very few, dude, man, but it is. It's like, I had a conversation with one of the guys a couple years ago, man. So I got invited by the APD out there, right? So the APD, well, this is how it played out, right? I said, listen, I want to know who is in charge of the gang task force, right? And they hooked me up with this guy, right? And I reached out to him. I said, listen, man, I'm an ex-gangbanger and I'm going to be speaking at XYZ place in Aurora on such and such night. You want to come by, hear what I got to say? I am trying to help any way I can to alleviate these gang problems, right? He shows up with a couple of the other gang task force officers. He didn't know who I was and what I was locked up for, right? But I'm telling my story. I share my story. And once I was done, it dawned on him who I was, And after that, we got cool. We got real cool. He invited me to a thing that they were having for parents of at-risk youth, right? And I go out there and I speak and we start talking about, man, what can we do? And he's like, look, we got these programs going on, but man, in order for you to be involved, we need some approval from, the guy that's, I don't know where he's at now as far as, he was running for governor. He would not help, man. He acted like, like that was the least of his concerns, Before he got in office, he was like, yeah, when I get there, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other. And then he got there and it was, well, let me get my feet wet, man. I just got here, let me get my ducks in a row. I just got here. And to the point where I can't even get through no more. His secretary's like, yeah, he's, not trying to take, any time on this issue anymore. I can't help you, and it's like, all right, man, sometimes people are in denial, man. I was there for the 4th of July and there's still deep-seated gang problems there. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit harder for people to hang out at Brady School like we used to when we were young, but that doesn't mean that they're not there somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But having police officers acknowledge this dude right here is somebody they're going to listen to. Who was the other guy who grew up in the hood, man? Principal over at at the alternative school, man. I can't remember what his name is, but he grew up in Eastwood, you know.
Oh, really?
And I come over there and
Okay.
speak for the alternative school. He's like, dude, we had to have grown up together, man. We're the same age. We grew up in the same neighborhood. He's like, but they won't listen to me because I come to work in a suit and tie every day. He's
Right,
like,
right.
he's like, you ain't from the hood, you know what I'm saying? But that's how kids are, man. They just, you know, they need because he made good decisions. He don't have no credibility, even though he grew up in the hood, you know. And it's like, it don't make no sense, man. Just because he made better decisions than the next guy doesn't mean he didn't sit there and have to deal with that nonsense. I mean, I'm sure you dealt with some of that nonsense before you left, you know, because 88, it was starting to get, you know, a little bit more rowdy, you know what I'm saying? Where, especially as a DJ, I'm sure as a DJ, you know, some parties got lit up, you know what I'm saying? Or something happened outside or you know what I'm saying?
Big
you still
time.
had to do it, even though you weren't involved in it, you know? And a lot of people
we knew what was going on. Yeah, we knew what was going on, and we saw things happening, and you know, and you know, and I have friends that were involved. You know, that's the thing. I have friends, you know, you got friends that are involved, and you don't want to see people getting hurt that you care about, that you grew up with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you try to talk to them, and you hope for the best. Some listen, some, you know, things happen. You know, you and I both know people who've gotten killed. You know, and you know, it's so when we're talking to, but you're right. If I'm talking to kids, they're like, oh, you know, this dude, you know, he's academic or this, that. They're not catching it. But that's why we partner with people that they can see that, hey, man, look, I heard of that dude, you know, and we all want what's best for these kids. And it's unfortunate because Aurora's at a place right now, it don't have to get worse. It can easily get better.
Right.
But you need the right people that they're going to actually reach the kids, man. Because like, again, when I talk to you and JL, I know y'all both got a heart to reach the kids, and I know that you can, you know, because you are pretty direct with what you're saying, you know. So I don't know about the government in Aurora. You know, I try, you know, obviously, you know, what can I say? You know, because of my particular occupation, I really try not to, you know, when it comes to state politics, you're right. But at the same time, you know, I would hope that any governor or mayor or city councilman or alderman would listen to the fact that you need people who have changed their lives so they can exemplify the change you want the young people to do. And that's not complicated. It's not hard. It's common sense. It's common sense. You know, that's what you should want.
They have to, but man, they have to absolutely believe that it's possible.
Yeah. And if until they got to be able to actualize it and see it.
Yeah, exactly. They need examples.
Yeah, because like I said, I'm proud of you guys, man. I remember us all growing up, man. And, you know, like I said, some of my friends, you know, we lost a couple, you know that, you know, and I'm glad that, you know, you made it through. I'm glad that you know, that second lockup, he was like, oh, this is for real, you know. And, you know, it's like I said, man, you know, you can tell people what it's like to have to live in a cell with somebody. Right. You know, I don't think people think about that. You know, somebody you don't know, just drop them in there with you. You gotta get along, you know. So that's complicated right there. But man,
you know, you got just not your baggage, man. You got his baggage too now. That's your baggage.
That's your baggage.
Yeah.
That's something, man. But yeah, brother, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Next week we're gonna set up time that works with your schedule for you and I. Let's see if I can get JL on because I want to talk to you guys about things you think would be helpful for guys re-entering. What assistance can do, what you think would help, because your perspective is a real one. You know, what would help? What type of services we should provide? What we should provide when a person leaves the prison and gets out in the world, how we make that bridge, you know, to hook them up with people. And then if you do, all right?
No problem, man.
All right. So everyone, I'm going to go ahead and run it. I'll holler at y'all probably later this week. Thanks for watching the show. Thank you again, Nalo.
Thank you, man.
All right. Now talk to you all probably later this week. All right. Everybody be safe.